Hi everyone and welcome to my Razor Wings guide for Spiritborn in Season 10. This is a build I'm very excited to play. I've actually played it a little bit already in Season 9, but it got some insane upgrades in this patch. And I think it's going to be one of the overall just most fun, most exciting builds to play in Season 10. Spiritborn in general is looking extremely strong. There's plenty of good stuff on our class, so you can also easily pivot to another build or come from another build to play this later on as well. Razor Wings is a skill that was not really that strong traditionally since the introduction of Spiritborn, but it has received a lot of upgrades over the last few seasons and really shines with the new season perks and the Chaos Armors in Season 10. It's a potency skill, so we can use the Sun-Stained War Crozier and use that as a Chaos Armor, freeing up the weapon slot and getting a lot of extra power from this. In addition, we have the Back Off Chaos perk that is basically designed for this skill. So this gives you 200% extra damage when you use a skill from range, and we are playing at long range with this build anyway. All the time we have these discs flying around and they will just be massively amplified. What you see here right now, those clips are from the PTR, where I tried this out a little bit with a very unoptimized setup, and this was before various buffs that have now more than doubled the damage of this build, and I expect we're gonna get into even hit 100 speed farming territory of this, basically. So it is very good, very powerful, much easier to get going than in the past as well, because there were some changes to the cooldown and the stack refresh, basically. And it just makes this like a very fun and smooth experience to play, especially if you want to do something ranged on the Spiritborn. This is relatively unique. So the TLDR of this build is that you shoot out these Razor Wings, they actually have a very high attack rate, and then they bounce back off from you all the time as long as you have counterattack running with the deflection aspect. So you try to maintain those counterattack stacks all the time, because whenever you do deflect them out again, they will actually deal extra damage, and they now seek enemies. So they don't just fly into like random directions, they actually go towards the target. And whenever they hit something, you also have a chance to get charges back. You see here my charges are constantly filling up again. If you look at my skill bar, this is when you hit something, you have a chance to get some of them back, and since they're constantly bouncing back and forth between you and enemies, you actually get charges all the time and you don't actually run out. So there's no resource management here, and we just have to make sure that we are not at 0 charges at any point, but this is pretty easy to achieve. There's a tempo that you can put on rings for extra maximum Razor Wing charges. And every time we cast our ultimate, we also reset all of the charges as well. And we can do that every few seconds, thanks to the Prodigy's Tempo key passive. So the rest just allows you to kind of face roll all of your cooldowns all the time. Everything resets very quickly. And compared to this footage that you see here right now, we're actually going to be running the Gorilla ultimate, not the Hunter, with the new Hesha and Kizungi unique glove. That thing has a ton of skill ranks, giving you lots of extra power, because Razor Wings actually usually doesn't get any skill ranks at all. You just have the base 5, but you can get plus 15 extra ranks from that unique now. So that is a lot of power by itself, plus a bunch of other stuff that this item brings. And it allows us to very easily stay at range, because we're going to throw in the Gorilla and it will give us a buff, barrier, damage reduction, and it also pulls in all the enemies at range as well, making it very easy to get the back off benefit where you want to throw the discs from a distance. Just to show this off real quick what this looks like, this is a different build that I played on PTR, but here we have the Protector, and you see he jumps into the middle, pulls everything in. And if you imagine this with the Razor Wings, you just throw your discs from that distance safely. Everything is stunned and knocked down in the middle, and you can just do your thing. So it's going to be a very nice and smooth to play build, and still highly mobile, because we're going to be proccing Jar Rune all the time. And without further ado, let's jump in and talk about the setup here. I also want to highlight that we do have a max roll guide for Razor Wings. This one is maintained by Chronix. It looks a little bit different, so we have a few different ideas, but it's also very solid. You can go check it out if you want to see a different version and the full written guide here. I'll have my Pliner, so there's an Ancestral and a Mythic variant. It's not exactly a build that you can start with at level 1, so this is not like a leveling setup. You do need a few pieces for this, but it's not that crazy in order to get this going. One core piece is the deflection aspect, as I mentioned. This makes it just bounce off of you all the time with the counterattack, and we just need to make sure the counterattack is always up, which is easily achieved thanks to Prodigy's Tempo. So with that, we reset everything by just spamming Razor Wings. Every third consecutive cast gives us this cooldown reset. And since we have so many ranks from the Hesha Ekazungi, we reset everything in like seconds, basically. Every cooldown will constantly come back. You will not even be able to press it often enough, basically. So this is how crazy that will get, thanks to this. So this is usually a glove. Here is a Chaos Armor, and we put the Sun-Stained as a glove Chaos Armor as well. But to get started, you don't actually really need any Chaos Armor. You can just farm up that item, for example, equip it. It has lots of damage here, gives us all of the focus skills and upgrades, which is very handy. And this allows you, for example, to soar around, have the Ravager all the time, and so on, which is pretty cool. And lots of extra damage. And here we can just wear the glove by itself until you get those Chaos Armors. Also keep in mind you can actually swap around where those Chaos Armors go, so you don't need to find the glove version necessarily. This, it could also be the chest armor, for example, and same here and same here. So we have 3 total Chaos Armors in the final setup, and they can be used interchangeably. So ideally you have those 3 here: chest, gloves, and boots. Hesha, the Harmony, and Sun-Stained. And with Harmony as a Chaos Armor, we also free up the Helm slot, where previously it would just run Harmony before the Mythic variant, for example. But later you can get Air of Perdition, so this gives you tons of crit chance, ideally with a GA on the crit as well, because it's actually kind of hard to stack up enough crit chance. But we can get to 99% here, even 100 if you really want to put in another Masterwork here on the ring, but 99 is fine. And then we have the 60% damage buff as well. We have a bit of movement speed, and the other stats don't really matter here. But this is something that we get in the late game once we have the Mythic variant going. All the other aspects. So we have redirected force on a two-handed once you free up the weapon slot by having the Chaos Armor Sun-Stained. And we put this here. This is this big crit damage buff. Sometimes you block as well, maybe, and you can get a double buff of this. But even by itself, it's just really powerful. If you have kind of low armor value, you actually want to put unyielding hits here. So unyielding hits goes normally on the neck in the late game setup. You want to have 3,333 armor in order for getting this maximum benefit. But if you happen to have less armor than that, like noticeably less, then you probably want to swap the two aspects. So you put unyielding on the two-handed, redirected on the neck. If you are, for example, in the range of 2.5k, maybe up to 3k armor or so, because it is just so valuable to stack up this effect as much as possible. But you do cap out at this 1500% bonus, which in this case is 3.33k armor. Then we have Endless Talons. So this one was actually bug fixed, and the Fleet Wings as well. Here, these are 2 Razor Wing aspects, basically giving you a bunch of extra damage. Here, also more extra damage, and you get the Unhindered permanently, which is kind of nice. You can just walk through enemies. And it also becomes an incarnate skill. We can actually use that to our advantage with a glyph on the Paragons. Here's our skill tree. So most importantly, we want to invest all 5 points into Razor Wings and take the Poised Razor Wings upgrade. This gives us the charge refund, and everything else is just kind of like utility and extra damage or defensive passives. So you have like very typical stuff here with offensive passives. At the start, we have to invest up to 6 points here in like basic and core in order to get down here, even though we don't really care about any of this, but you can't get around it. Then we have Armored Hide. We just put 1 point in there to get the extra like damage reduction here mostly. You want to keep this up all the time. You get a resolve there. This is more damage reduction, lots of block, and unstoppable all the time. So this is pretty handy and very easy to keep up as well. And you see here with the plus 15 ranks, it actually has a very long duration, very easy to maintain. We have the counter attack here, gives us lots of passive dodge chance, and you also want to keep it active all the time, thanks to the deflection aspect. And we get extra crit damage here from reinforced when enemies are close, which shouldn't really happen. And if you want to free up 2 points here, you can easily do that and put them somewhere else. But I kind of just included it anyway, because sometimes there might be enemies rushing at us and we get a bit of a benefit at least. Then we have the Gorilla here. This is the Protector. Also lots of extra skill ranks, helping us to reduce the cooldown. And we just put 1 point in there because we get so many ranks once we have like a nicely masterworked Hesha Ekazungi. And this is like Giga Barrier, damage and damage reduction, and pulls everything in and keeps us, and it keeps up the resolution buff. So here you get a nice damage boost to elites, and then especially supremacy. So this is also like a very powerful boost here that you want to try to keep up as much as possible. So generally you face roll all of the cooldowns, and then the Protector, you try to be a little bit more tactical with it, try to throw it in the middle of a big room or like into an elite pack, and then just destroy them from range basically, while the protector keeps them in place. Thanks to the harmony, we also have a bunch of extra skill tags. So we have the eagle tag from the skill itself, gorilla and jaguar, because harmony adds all of the tags to the skill that we have with our spirit hall. So this means you also pick up the jaguar passives here. We definitely have the eagle passives here. And we also have the gorilla passives. So this is all pretty good stuff. And then also, like, for example, because it's a potency skill, vehemence, very powerful. I tried to make this build somewhat tanky, and it should be pretty fine. There is definitely ways to maybe make this even tankier if you want to. You can change some of the runes around. For example, Yule Jar is relatively optional. There could be a defensive rune here. You could also potentially drop the harmony and go with something like the shroud, and then go for like a giga masterwork on life, for example, if you want to be a bit tankier, but you will also lose a bit of power here, so keep that in mind. One note about the focus skills here, we get them from the Sunstained, so this is just part of the build basically. So you get a Ravager, and we have it on our bar, as you can see. We also get Soar, so here you have extra movement speed, which is nice. You can just soar around, you reset it often, you're pretty mobile with that. So you can use that in addition to the jar rune. Usually you prefer the jar because it has a fast animation, but then you can also use both together basically, and you can just fly through the map even without the hunter or without anything else really going on. We don't even have boots that give us like a lot of evading or something like that, but you're going to be highly mobile. Plus you make everything around you vulnerable, you make yourself unstoppable, and you can also break CCs with this. And here we have the Ravager, so we don't really care about this resource and the dash part of this, but we do care about replenishing Ravager. So replenishing Ravager allows you to constantly hit elites all the time, and in order to fuel this, we have Variana as our mercenary with the Taste of Flesh effect here. So whenever she applies a bleed to an enemy and then you or her hit the target, you get a heal, which is nice. And it also triggers this replenishing Ravager all the time. So in our case, we use this most importantly to stack up Potent very quickly. Even if a fight only lasts a few seconds, you will actually stack this up. And on bosses, this is very helpful. However, if you are really struggling with getting your armor or resistances up, you could also swap the mercenary around, get her here, and then choose one or the other paths in order to fix your stats a little bit. And you also have Altkin here with the Field of Language for XODR. Here's the Paragon setup, so this is what it looks like. I changed this a little bit. I used to have the drive board here, which also got buffed. In general, all of the Paragon nodes got buffed a lot since PTR, and everything is like kind of double value now, effectively. Drive was kind of nice because you move around a lot, but I decided to actually go with Revealing. So this is now a 30% buff and then doubled against crowd-controlled enemies, and we are generally crowd-controlling stuff really nicely, thanks to pulling them all in with the Protector, and then we have this lucky hit chance here for the knockdown as well. So we keep them in place, we make sure that they don't rush at us, keeping up our buffs, keeping up our back off power, and this is gonna feel really good, I think. Plus it triggers the dominant passive here all the time, because just attempting to knock down also gives you a nice damage buff, and this is a very easy way to do this. Other than that, we have relatively standard stuff. Convergence, you try to get a bit of a mental damage here. This is very easily done thanks to just the board itself. It does have non-physical damage nodes. We try to pick those up relatively early. Then we have the Viscous Shield node here, so we try to keep up our barriers, which is also easily done thanks to Protector and the Gorilla main hall. And then we have Sapping. We don't really care about the resource part of it, but it's a nice damage buff that just triggers all the time. And finally, the Revealing I mentioned with the knockdown. And our glyphs here, we have Talon. This is for eagle skills and crit damage. Menagerist, this is what I mentioned earlier with the Incarnate skills. So here we get Incarnate skill damage, and we get a nice secondary effect, and we boost the magic nodes, so we kind of save up on a few points here. It's kind of tight on Paragon points, even going all the way to Paragon 300. There's a lot of really good stuff. So this is mainly why I put in this glyph here, just to have more points for other things. Then we have Spirit, very powerful. You want to try to stack this up as soon as possible. This is like the strongest glyph here, basically. We have Fulminate with extra lightning damage, which Razor Wings does, helps with convergence as well. And Canny, same thing here as well. If you want to be a little bit more on the defensive side, there is one glyph I want to recommend as well, which is the Innate glyph. This is again for Incarnate skills, which we get from our aspect. And here you get 50% damage reduction as well. So you can also throw this one in. instead of one of the other clothes, like maybe instead of Kenny, for example, or something like that. And you can be a bit tankier. I also have a Paragon 200 and a Paragon 250 set up here, so you can kind of see the progression, where they put the points. Usually you kind of like, rush through the boards, pick up the legendary, maybe the glyph slots as well, and make sure that by 200 we have all of these, and then you kind of like just build up more and more, so you can see the progression there. And that also pretty much sums up this guide here. I have a few more notes, especially about what other Chaos Armors to use in case you don't find the right stuff just yet at the start. But yeah, there's other stuff to throw in. You can do a Fist of Fate, a Gold Slayer is not bad, a Rayon, a Locrin's Talisman maybe even. So there's definitely some stuff you can throw in there and experiment with, and then just wait until you get the right drops. But for now, this is the guide here. So hope you enjoyed this. I'm definitely going to have a lot of fun with Razor Wings. And you can see me play that on stream very soon, I guess. If you enjoyed this, like and subscribe. I have a bunch more stuff coming, a lot of videos coming out here with Season 10 and Diablo 4 content in general. So hope you enjoyed this, and see you guys next time.